shit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
Hey everyone, I did see the alerts come in. I apologize, I was fiddling with settings. All right, what's up everyone? We're gonna test out a little bit different streaming setup tonight, and here's hoping it works. Because I finally have both my computers working now. Yes! Let's go. That's not supposed to happen. Hey, there it goes. Now, is this gonna work? It is! What's up everyone? So, I finally got my new computer set up. This is the old dirty bastard that was busted. Yep. It hung in there. Hung in there for 5 years. But now it's going to be a trophy that if you fail, I'm going to hang it up on the wall as intimidation for all the other tech in the house. Like, if you fail me, you are replaceable. Hey, too, Bob. What's up, man? And Levicorn and Agent 57. 57 with the first blood. What's up, y'all? My R7's going on 11 years. I don't know what happened to this one. It was weird, but actually at first I thought it was the power supply. The power supply kind of tracked all the symptoms. So what happened is if this computer was acting a fool, I could usually run something to get it to kind of chill out. me go find the room we need. So for example, in the beginning, it started easy. If I had a YouTube video playing, cool. The computer would stay on. If it didn't, it was almost like the computer would start getting like bored, getting narcolepsy, and it would just die on me. So when I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. Then it progressed. It got worse. I then needed something running constantly in the background, like OBS, just something to tax it a wee bit. And I didn't even have to be streaming. I just had to have it on. Then it didn't like that. Then if I had a video game on, it would stay stable. I could have a video game just on idle. I'm on the login screen, right? Or the loading screen in the background, and it would be fine. So finally, I had to have full-blown FurMark, the benchmarking for GPUs running for it to do that. And then I don't know what, I thought it was actually the GPU was going out at first, given all this stuff seemed to be kind of graphics related. And then afterwards, I swapped in an old graphics card. It was still doing the same thing. I was like, okay, so chances are I don't have two bad graphics cards. So as I started going through it some more, I was like, maybe this is the power supply. It's been needing progressively more power because maybe we've got a problem with the not the transition. What is it? The capacitors forming a memory in there. Capacitors will do that over time. Okay, maybe that's it. So I spent 3 hours after 7 hours of troubleshooting, swapping the power supply, did the exact same thing. I swap in the new CPU. It's been rock solid ever since. And now I have a cool new sticker to give to the kids because they love stickers. All right, let me find something here. So let me drag this over right about here. Actually, let me do something real quick. There we go. Now the good news is, because everything for the test environment was over on, what is this? Everything for the test environment was over on a different system. It should be good. I need to check something real fast though, because not all my settings in Royal actually carried over. So what I need to check my port forwards in here. Let's see, tunnels. Okay, good. Tunnels are all up and set. Excellent. Hey Oni, what's up, man? So now, hopefully what we should be able to do here is, let me go ahead and kill this. Let me get SSH'd into the dev box. Nice. Also, there's probably going to be a bit of a delay here. So the way this whole new setup works is what you're seeing on the screen here, this isn't on the streaming computer. This is on the desktop. The screen, or I'm sorry, the camera, the microphone, OBS, the stream deck, everything has been moved to a dedicated nook. In fact, hang on, I can show it to you. There you go. That's it right there. That little box. That's the one actually broadcasting the stream now. I think I had you right about there. So, yeah, it's actually been working pretty solid, and it was a fairly inexpensive nook. Did I see your 250 bench press today? I did. I didn't reply back to it because y'all have been a bunch of chatty Cathys on there, but I was at the racetrack today with the kids, and dude, they were just ripping around the track. Each one of them went through more than a tank of gas on their four-wheelers, and they were just getting after it. All three of them crashed out. It's about, I don't know, maybe a half mile. It's maybe about a half mile once we enter the property to go back into, what is going on here? Hold on one second. Close all this. Okay, just making sure everything's working good. It's about a half a mile drive, and it's, you know, it's a dirt road going from where we've got the track set up to the gate entering the property. Pretty much all of the kids were passed out by the time they hit the gate. They were dunzos. They rode hard today. It was a really good day. Even our youngest rider, Eli, who just turned 5, was out there just doing a phenomenal job. I'm going to have to optimize this a little bit. So, yeah, it was a good day today. Really good. Let me do something here. Huh. This computer has been on the VPN this entire time. So, I still have a little bit of post setup to do. But this is a completely fresh install. There we go. I actually seriously thought about putting something like, what is it? I actually thought about putting Omarchi on this computer, but there are a few key programs that I need to use Windows. So I bit the bullet, and thankfully, who was that? MSI, I think? Yeah, I think it's an MSI motherboard. They finally came up with a fix for the TPM issue. So there was before I had developed a very thorough dislike of Windows 11, I had thought about upgrading to it a couple years ago, but I couldn't. And it was because the TPM chip on the motherboard was never recognized properly. So I guess with the ultimatum that had been put out by, who was that? That had been put out by Microsoft, they finally said, okay, I guess we need to go fix this TPM issue that's happening here. What is this song? Get that stuff? Okay, hold on. I gotta add that to the delete list. What's the song called? Get that stuff. No, I'm gonna nuke that one off the playlist. Didn't like that. Skip. Let me turn shields down. Forever block. Do it again. Or launch this on a... Oh, what is this? This is a new error. So also I switched off of using Chrome to using Brave in here. Too pokey. Yeah, dude, they had a lot of fun today, Oni. I had the same thing with an MSI motherboard too. It had an i5 8th gen CPU paired with it. That would not install Windows 11. Yeah, and so I had thought about upgrading a long time ago. I was actually really reluctant on this one. And what's so crazy is I don't know why it says Windows 11 isn't activated. I'm sure maybe I need to go put a key on here. I forgot because I had actually upgraded from Windows 10 to 11. It was stupid. F Windows. I actually really seriously considered putting Omarchi on this computer. No memes, nothing about that. I loaded it up onto an old laptop, a P51 ThinkPad that I got in 2018. So it's 7 years old, and it's looking its age. It was really, really high line whenever I got it, except it just has been it never really ran all that well. Plus it had a 4K display. So I never wanted to get another laptop with a 4K display because Windows 10 wouldn't scale well for that back in the day. I loaded Omarchi on it just to play with it and see it. I actually really liked it. So if it wasn't for a couple of key pieces of software I needed to run on this computer, I would have just straight up loaded Omarchi on it. I liked it a lot. Let me read more about this. What is going on? So for some reason, it doesn't like the tunnel config here. What's this Brave connection issues here? So Brave blocks plain HTTP traffic on localhost when the Brave shields are enabled. So when running Studio and LangGraph, so solution 1 is to turn on tunnel. Well, actually, no, I didn't turn on tunnel. So let me go get that real quick. I gotta go edit this real fast. So let's come. Actually, I'm not gonna edit it down here. I got it up here. Where are we at? Where's our little helper script? Tunnel. There we go. We'll save that and then we'll run it. Let's see if we can get our tunneled connection in. Oh, what is that? Hold on. This was something different. What? What? Starting Cloudflare tunnel. Hold on. Did I not read this documentation carefully? So solution 1 was disable Brave shields, which I did. Shields are down. It's still not liking it in here. But solution 2 was use a Cloudflare tunnel. What? How does this work? Use this URL in Brave to load the studio. Here, the base URL parameter specifies your agent server endpoint. What? Ooh, you can use a... Now that's interesting. Quick tunnel created. Oh my. That's pretty cool. I did not know that this had a Cloudflare tunnel option. I didn't like that. Oh, here we go. Because I grabbed the wrong one. So it requested one. Now that's awesome. Oh, wow. Look at that. Now that's pretty cool. Cool. So you can actually have the LangGraph Studio server tunnel through a quick Cloudflare tunnel. That's pretty sick. Okay, I like that. Let me see here. Let me go ahead and get the seed run going on this box here. What do we got? Bear with me. I'm going to be slow tonight because I got to look for where everything is on this computer now. Everything's in a slightly different spot. Where's our test data? There it is. Scoot you over. Here we go. We drop it in our target IP address. Let's see. Where's Stinger? There you are. Oh, wait. You know what? Stinger's up, but you know what we didn't do? Reconnect. Oh, we did connect to that VPN. Nice. Let's go try this guy out. Where's Stinger? There it is. Input raw. Give it to me raw. Submit. Brah! Hang on one sec. Let me see. How did I do that? There we go. Okay, there you go. Looks like it's running. That was suboptimal. It came up for a second. Hang on, stand by. Let me see what it's doing here. Why you do this? Why you do this to me? Failed to connect to server. What? Stand by, y'all. It's right. Stinger's not doing anything fancy right now anyway. It's just sitting there checking stuff. Until you can run Windows software reliable on Linux, it's just a necessary evil for now. Yeah, pretty much. Now, why would it be doing this? Alright, let me try something else here. Stand by, all. Hey, there we go. Got it. Okay, so that's a bug. There's a bug to go troubleshoot. Let me make a note of that. So, just chatting. Bugs out stream. Well, first problem I'm probably going to find here. Hey, Hats, what's up, man? Let me see if I can... What is that? It's I'm trying to remember the name of it. LangChain Studio, I believe is the name of it. Or maybe it's LangGraph. LangGraph Studio? I gotta get all my windows that I had nice and comfortably set up. They're all gone. I'm already signed in. I can see the trace over here. This is where I want to see the trace, though. I want to see the trace in the other window. No runs found. That is a falsity, sir. Maybe it only renders it whenever it's done? I can't even... I haven't had to look it up in so long. I don't even remember the name of the tool that's in here. Let me think. Oh, there we go. All right, let me log in. Good. So Windows is a mean to an end. Properly doctored, it can be useful platform without any annoyances. So Bob, that's kind of what that was part of the big stuff I did. So I have not slept very much the last couple weeks for two reasons. One, I'm on a particularly troublesome red team, which I can't discuss why, but through... So usually whenever you're doing these kind of these red teams, what you'll do is you'll either start from no access or you'll start with seeded access. So when they seed access to you, what you'll do is you'll put together, like a C2 implant, and you'll wrap it up in something, try to make it look innocuous. You'll send it to the client, and they'll run it on a seeded computer, one that we are basically given access to for the duration of the test. So the user decided that he was going to run it in a very particular way on his computer, and it just got me completely caught. And I was like, are you serious? It was... And only one of them. So we actually had two seated users. The other one just ran it like a normal user would run it. The other guy did this weird thing, and it set off all the flags in CrowdStrike. And I was like, bro, what are you doing? So I've been dealing with this really odd client. It's not like they're bad or anything. It's just a very unique circumstance. So I've been dealing with that, dealing with fixing the computer, lots of late nights. I'm a little brain cooked. I bought 10 licenses for Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC, so the lab got extended until 2036. Nice. See, unfortunately, I need something like Windows 11 in the home lab because my clients are going to be using Windows 11. So I was hoping to keep it in the home lab. Dante, what's up, dude? I got a question about in-map port scanning. So when you're on an engagement, how fancy do you get with your in-map scans? So I noticed you can do a lot, like customizing the packet flags with scan flags and a lot more. Do you ever try and bypass an IDS with this? I don't, man. Usually I don't ever run in-map when I'm on an internal. I used to back in the day. And a lot of times you don't see many clients with an IDS deployed internally. It sounds really cool and it's great, but they tend to either not do it right or just not do it at all. That's the gist of it right there. So anybody who doesn't know, an IDS is an intrusion detection system. It's a computer that's meant to sit and analyze all the packets flying back and forth and look for anomalies at the network layer, right? Or actually, from the network layer and above, because it can find other stuff like that when they're done correctly. IDSs are cool, but I've never really seen one put to like really firm use. Maybe it's just the clientele I had been working with in the past, but it hasn't been an issue for what we're doing now. Because a lot of what I'm doing is abusing identity systems. So I'm getting into an environment. I'm finding out, okay, where could I pivot to from a particular vantage point? So most I might do is I might run like a single port scan to something, and even then I'm not like usually using Nmap. I'm probably using like a beacon object file inside the C2 agent, and I'm doing it that way. And it's literally and it would be like nothing fancy. It'd be like, can I just see that port is open on that computer? That's about the extent of what I'm doing now. Even when I did use Nmap a lot, I actually did have something. I'm not logged into GitHub. Damn. If I was logged into my GitHub, I would go find it. But I actually had an Nmap scanning cheat sheet that was just like some handy little scanners, and it was a GitHub gist. I'll have to go see if I can find it and drop it in. Monkey, what's up, dude? I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. I had a really good one today. This worries me, though. Okay, it is done. Why is it saying it's not done, though? Refresh. I'm sitting here watching it. Oh, that's not good. Recursion limit 100 hit. That's not good. That's all right. We got down to the exploitation agent. Let's see. How far over can I bring this? I'm going to put this right here. Can I bring this over anymore? No. Let's go see what the exploitation agent was working on. So they changed something in here. I'm wondering, what is this? What's this red line right here? I don't get what that is. If Microsoft won't pull themselves together for Windows 12, I bet for emulation to get good enough. Yeah. Let's see. This might sound weird, but I found a crypto miner on my Unraid server. Uh-oh. And I'm having a bit of fun trying to figure out how it got there. I've got it pinned down to Obsidian. I'm investigating if it's a plugin that got compromised. Oh. So that wouldn't surprise me, Monkey, because there's been a whole lot of research. In fact, we just talked about one on Wednesday. I was able to hobble together something with just that little nook so we could do the news stream on Wednesday. And I was so happy because I've missed streaming for like a week, and I was just happy to be back streaming with y'all. I have a great time doing it. So what happened with there was one of the things that we were looking at was something they called it Glassworm, and they made it sound like this kind of unstoppable worm that was happening inside of developer what was it, VS Code extensions on the VSX open marketplace. But anyway, that was something that was big in happening, and so Glassworm was compromising VS Code extensions and then trying to branch out from there and infect, basically find like GitHub credentials and other stuff, and then branch out from there to infect other things. So yeah, an Obsidian plugin might have been it, dude. Hey, no problem, Dante. Sorry, I'm just catching up on chat here. I'm trying to see. I wonder why this says it's still running. It's obviously not still running. And it's so weird that the trace comes back with nothing over here. That was kind of handy. This part's not actually very handy over here. But let's see what what did it do? Let's see. So when we get down to the exploitation agent. Okay, so it called the Diceco artifact. Tried to pull that down. That's good. Looks like it pulled up. Actually, hold on. Something I've always learned we need to do whenever we're debugging the exploit agent is look at the step planner. So what kind of steps did our planner come back with? Let's see. I gotta move this out of the way. I got cables galore running all over the desk right now. So obtain a web shell artifact, navigate to the upload panel, upload the PHP web shell through the form, access the uploaded web shell from the uploads, and test the web shell by executing a simple command like ID. Okay, so we got our dice code web shell, and then we navigate, and then we send it back down to the browser agent. It does a click, it does a file upload, and then we do another click. All right, so let's just check the summary here. What was the summary output? So I attempted to upload the PHP web shell, got, yeah, PHP not permitted. All right, perfect. So that's what we should see. Then it calls, actually, this is great, because then the exploit step processor comes back and says, okay, we're going to rename it to webshell.txt. Fail. Epic fail. So it renames the file to a text file. So this is something I've noticed too when it's trying to figure out how to solve this problem, is it will rename it to something that's not an executable format, like .txt, and then it will get stuck in this weird kind of like, I don't know what to do loop spiral of doom, and it basically has an existential crisis. So that's why I'm starting to narrow it down. So I'm wondering if it was a linter, but it's trying to be methodical about it. Yeah. And see, that's why I'm a little sketch about, I like Obsidian, but also, like I said, a lot of these things focus on you're running code from somebody else. So running code that is not yours will ever be filled with disaster. VS Studio extensions are such a rude target. Pretty much, man. Let's see. All right, so how did it flake out after this? So it probably goes and gets a successful upload of the text file. Let's see. Sorry, so it took the text file, and then it does an HTTP GET, which is the worst thing. So one of the issues I've noticed here, let's go back to something real quick. So if we go to the step processor, look at all the tools that are in here. Look at all of these. So what I'm thinking about doing is, let's go back and look at the graph. Let's look at exploit agent real fast. There we go. Okay. Let's move you right about meow. I'm gonna move you meow, and you right meow. And I'm gonna move you right meow. Okay, so this is the main execution loop, right? So one of the things I've been thinking about is there's a big problem with basically giving AI agents too many tools. You give them a giant toolbox and they get analysis paralysis or they fixate on the wrong thing. So here's what I was thinking about doing. I was thinking about making a special node in here. And I was thinking about calling it, basically make it like a reproducible node and call it the quartermaster. The quartermaster's job would be basically to kind of, actually, it wouldn't sit up here. I take that back. It would sit in this spot. So after step processor, no, we would need it before step processor. I'll have to think about how to implement this with this loop. But essentially what would happen is the quartermaster would sit in here, or this guy would make a call over to the quartermaster and come back. The quartermaster's job is to absolutely 100% find the best tool or the set of tools that what's going to happen for this, and just give the exploit step processor access to those tools only. So we could have this large set of tools from RoboPages, from MCP servers, from whatever, but then the quartermaster is the one who actually issues the tools to the agent. Basically just appends them to the list of tools that they can use, right? And that way we could filter down and try to keep that smaller. Because all these tools in here, all of this crap, all this eats up context also, eats up tokens as it's being processed by the language model. So something else as part of our context prep is we could sit there and we could kind of filter this down a bit. Call it the Soviet cop. Why did Soviet cops work in sets of three? One could write, one could read, and the third could watch over the two dangerous intellectuals. That's funny. Hey, Hydrogen, what's up, man? Welcome in. I hope y'all are having a really great Saturday. I had a really good one today. I even got to get like an hour nap before the stream, so I wasn't just completely dead on my feet. You could at the very least have the quartermaster exclude all the low probability tools. That's a good idea, Bob. Yeah. And so I haven't thought about trying to implement it right now. I was thinking that would be a future revision, or maybe something we'll start putting in the post exploitation agent. I haven't quite decided yet. I'm thinking about it. What's up, Bearded Bits? Hey, Cesarius, what's up, man? That's a very old Soviet anecdote. That's hilarious, though, man. I like the only Soviet anecdote I really remember, because obviously all that happened when I was really young, is we pretend to work and they pretend to feed us. Or pay us. That's what it was. They pretend to pay us. In Soviet Russia, the road forks you. In Soviet Russia, repo forks you. Especially when going crazy here. So let's see what else happened here. So it did a GET request, but that's the stupidest thing that it could have done, because all it does is return the contents, right? So what did the revisor say about this? Let's see. Based on the output, I can see you've successfully uploaded the PHP web shell, and you've been able to retrieve the contents of the file. The file contains PHP shell called Diceco. However, the current task asks to access the uploaded web shell at... It's like, you were supposed to get this from filename.php, but you're getting it from webshell.txt. Good lord. Hey, Bobby, what's up, man? I've never been to Russia, but our car got stolen by Russians while I was in Poland. Poor Poland. Always getting picked on. Oh, that's bad. Okay, so minor update. Let's go put that in the to-do list real quick. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. So let me come over here to, where's my prompts at? Prompts. Here we go. Bring this over. So the revisor prompt needs a little bit of extra hand holding. Let's see. That's our exploit step prompt. Where's our revisor prompt? Exploit step status. This should be the one right here. Yeah. So we're gonna add in another rule right here. So what we're gonna tell it is, we're gonna say, let's see. What is this? Tasks? Yeah. We'll say task may contain placeholder text. What is this song? Another song that needs to get nuked off. This was a huge music pack that I added, and I was not about to go spend like 17 hours curating it. But it came from a really awesome guy. You might know him. He's a handsome fella named 2Bob. NGOSI. Okay. Some of these songs are like just not chill for background music. So I gotta write them down here. By the way, 2Bob, I'm enjoying the new background music. I didn't realize how much you had in that repo, dude. It was so much. Let's see. Placeholder text like, let's see. File name.php. So these may be, what do I want to say? Let's say these should not be considered hard requirements. There we go. Put that in there. Yeah. So you can say values in square brackets are placeholders that will be replaced like this. Yeah. And that's kind of what I was shooting for this. So we can say tasks may contain placeholder text like filename.php. These should not be considered hard requirements for completion. Actually, I'll tell you what. So one thing I've been messing with lately, I forgot that I had like a... I don't think I'm actually still paying for it. That's the weird thing. I have like Twitter or X Premium, and I didn't realize it. And as I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't think I'm still paying for this, but they still count me as having it. I'm like, okay, cool. That gives me access to some like extra stuff on Grok. So I've been tinkering with Grok and playing around with it. I played around with OpenAI and Anthropic, but I hadn't really messed with Grok too much. And one of the things that's actually really helpful I've seen is I've been using it to like update prompts for other systems. So that's one thing I'm actually considering putting in with this, and that is trying to capture some of this stuff like where it just went completely off the rails and say, like, okay, here's what we currently have. Could we do like a self-evaluation loop for this? So basically what we did every night is we would post a lookout with the car. So last night we didn't use our lookout. Car was gone in a few hours. Oh no. Everybody in the town parks their cars in one spot, and then someone is paid to stay up all night usually. Oh, okay. Getting that security bucks. Dude, I did overnight security for a long time. That was one of the jobs I did while I was in college. And I remember switching back to days. I remember texting my buddy. I was like, dude, there's a giant fireball in the sky. I don't know what this is, and I think I'm hallucinating. Because I had been a night owl at that point for 2 years. All right, let's see what it did after it failed this. It does another HTTP GET. And let's actually, hold on. So the reviser, we need to see what it did here. No. No. So it told the agent, rename this PHP file to a TXT file and upload it. And then it did that. And then it said, oh, but you didn't get the path correct. You're supposed to access it at file name PHP, not webshell.txt. So then it says, okay, so now I want you to rename it from webshell.txt to webshell.php on the remote server and try command ID. Well, it's going to fail because obviously there is no webshell.php. Yeah, 404 forward. All right. So then what did the exploit step processor do? Hold on, before I go too far down this, I want to see if it did something. So what should happen is, after so many tries down here in this processor loop, it should fail out back to the exploit agent and then come back down here. So I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to skip ahead in the book here. Okay, good. If I move the mouse away, I get my cursor spot back. Did it go back to the exploit agent? Hold on. Because now it's backed up so far, it got another copy of the DiceCo artifact. So we hit the update, we hit the reviser. Oh, yes, so it did go back to the exploit agent. See that? So the reviser said, okay, we're done, we've failed. I'm going to commit Sudoku, and we're going to do this. Actually, so this said the task is upload a PHP web shell with the .far extension to bypass file type filters for PHP. Actually, I've never seen .far. P-H-A-R? That's interesting. Would LMs just snitch on you if you use them for hacking? It depends. Actually, funny enough, since I just mentioned Grok, Grok apparently is like the snitchiest of ones. That if you start asking it how to do like really heinous things that are illegal, apparently Grok is the most snitchiest of snitches. And actually, they will report you to law enforcement. I have not experienced this firsthand. This is what I was reading about, I think from Theo. I think Theo was posting about it on X, Twitter, Zitter, whatever you want to call it. So far, I think everything's running pretty good on the new Streambox. Nice. Musk is gonna Musk, or is so Musk, yeah. I found that really funny too. Let's see. All right, so after it goes through the second exploit loop here. Oh, nice. So it actually did use the tool call correctly. So, because one of the things you can do is tell it, hey, what you want the output to be. So let's look at this. So forget the DiceCo artifact right here. You can tell it the output name and extension. So it did do that. So awesome. So it created webshell.far. And then what did it do? It did a browser navigate to panel. Actually, hold on. I keep skipping this part. What are the exploit steps that it came up with? That's the step processor. Where's the step planner? Here we go. So the step planner said, obtain a PHP web shell with the .far extension, go to panel, upload the .far, go to the uploads directory, test command execution. Okay. So let's see what happens. So it uploads, or it gets the PHP web shell, it navigates. I'm going to just delete that off there. I'm just going to freaking nuke that tool off because the HTTP GET seems to just really mess it up. Testing in hexane to pure JS conversion, but in visual domains. Hard fail case. Oh no. Let's see here. So what is it doing? So we got our HTTP GET. I did just notice something though. I think I need to adjust something on the background filter here. Okay, so now when I'm talking, how far down is the... Yeah, it drops the background music a ton. All right, so now when I'm talking, how far down does it go? It brings it back okay, but man, that's really low. All right, so now what about when I'm testing? Do we even... That's wild. It's dropping, it's ducking it so hard. So when I'm talking, what does it do? Oh, it's dropping it down to 47 dB. That's the kicker here. So let me change that to a 10 to 1. I'm going to drop this to like minus 35 dB. Shut up, baby. I know it. Hey, Frozen. What's up, dude? I don't think all of my filter settings changed here. Okay, what about now after I change that? Is that any better? Okay, yeah, I think that fixes it. Good. Frozen, dude, I've got the new streaming setup going. The new split streaming system. So, and now hopefully, like, if I want to go stream games, it won't be such an absolute beatdown. So here was the bad culprit, my old Ryzen CPU. I'm actually going to take it and put it under a microscope. There's a few interesting things we might be able to look at with my son. But CPU had died. I guess I just beat it to death too much. And once I swapped it out, everything was Gucci. It needed some new thermal paste anyway, but I don't think it was hot spots on it. It looked like, because the cooler on this thing is freaking massive. It's like a football. So I'm really glad everything seems to be going pretty good. One small glitch though I gotta track down, and that is if I switch into OPSEC mode or just chatting, it kills it. So I either need to change the just chatting scene or do something different where like over the screen I add like a pixelate, something over this for like an OPSEC mode, because it seems to crash it crashes the stream from the desktop's OBS to the Nook's OBS. But so far, everything's running really well. What's this? What's the stats like on it? Hold on, let me see. How's my performance monitor looking? CPU is just chill. It's like spiking up to 22, but it's chill. The GPU gives no Fs. Ethernet is it doesn't give a damn. It's doing great. This little Nook is just booking right along. And it's currently streaming to Twitch, YouTube, and Kick. So it's rocking it. Okay, so it did come up with some good things in here, but why was it doing a get? So you're going to check if the upload form is accessible. The reviser better have said that's no good. It validated it. You're killing me. Okay, you know what? Just because, all right, if the panel is accessible, that's fine. As long as it tells the browser to go do it. So I'm going to call the browser agent. Okay, so we call the browser agent. It navigates, but it just navigates to the panel, it looks like. Yeah. Which is fine, but then the reviser is probably going to say, oh, that's a fail because you're supposed to upload it. No, it actually validated that. Hold on. So then what was the next step here? Oh, now we're up to the upload. Okay, so now it's going to try the upload. It's going to go browser, click file, upload. All right, cool. So it did upload the FAR file. Good. Oh, what is this? So it uploaded it. It looked like it uploaded correctly. Actually, let's go check the summary data. File was uploaded successfully. Okay, so the reviser, what did it do? It failed it. Revision. Use curl to upload the PHP web shell. They're so dumb. Bad Ryzen, spank it. One more time for the Core 9 Ultra. Bad Ryzen, who's been a bad girl. Wait, what is this? Based on the response, I can see an empty, which indicates the upload attempt likely failed. Weren't you just freaking told? Oh no. Oh no. This should not have been empty. Why did that get empty in there? Okay, so this is just all kinds of jacked up. Because this should have had data about, hey, this is what happened during the previous step in here. Oh, wait, no, this was the previous step. Okay. This is the current step. So we did obtain, so the previous exploit step was here. This is our context. Okay.
Welcome, agent.
Oh, the output's blank. What the crap is this? Oh, hey, Robo. Thanks for the sub, man. Appreciate you, dude. I hope your computer experience is going better than mine. I forgot to tell you, I need more, I made more or if you need more copyright-free music, there's 4 gigs or mod music from Cracks on the Archive. Oh, nice. Always? There we go. All right, I'll look at that, Fat Hats. Thank you. I think you sent that to me and I forgot to mark it, so thanks for sending it again, man. Oh, you finally got your new build up and running? Nice. Nice. Cracks, keygens, you know. The background stuff. Dude. Okay, so here's where it went nuts. Look at this. For some reason, the revisor was getting no output right here. So is this why it's been going crazy? I wonder what happened here. Has the browser agent just not been returning the correct information this whole time? Or there's... All right. Hold on. So it fails it. It tells it to do a browser navigate, a click, an upload, another click. The browser agent comes back and says, I successfully uploaded it. Okay, cool. And then if we come down to the revisor, do we have that output? Yeah, there's the output. Why did it fixate on this? Exit code status 1, traceback. No such file name or directory called curl. What the heck just happened here? What did it try to upload? Did it just hallucinate something? Okay, so something's way off because the revisor it's not failing, but it's getting the wrong information. Look at all this. It called browser agent, but then for some reason got all sorts of weird crap coming out of it. Where did curl even happen in this? Made on impulse tracker? Nice. Hey, Palmer, what's up, man? Why is it trying to use curl? Because it's hallucinating. It's hallucinating horribly. And for some reason, it thought I should use curl to upload the PHP web shell rather than just using the damn browser agent, which is the whole thing I spent 4 months building for it. It doesn't have direct... I mean, it could actually, in theory, use requests to do it. But this is a weird multi-part form. I actually thought about trying to get it to use like get and post requests in the beginning, like raw ones through robo pages to make that happen. And it was just too much of a pain. So instead we decided, you know what, we're going to need a full browser later on anyway. So let's just fire that sucker up and let it do its thing. I love the old 8-bit MIDI tracks. Dude, I rocked the old 8-bit MIDIs back in the day. They were so good. Okay, so something is seriously wrong with the revisor. So let's go take a look at the revisor, wherever it is. Oh, that would be why. I left myself a nice little to-do like, this shit is borked. Yep, that'll do it. That would explain it. I need to fix this. Actually, I put this in here, but this actually looked like it should have been the same thing in here. Return tools and outputs. So for format output, we send the tools list, the output list, which is tool messages or strings. And that should return a list tuple right here. But something is obviously very wrong with it. Because let's go back to it. Let's back this up a bit here. We're going to go back to the top of the exploit chain up here. Okay, so here's where we enter the exploit chain. I want to take a look at what the revisor is doing this entire time. So when we hit the revisor, so we got get PHP web shell diceco. That's good. And it returned the name of it. Okay, so this one worked just fine. Good, so we got that. Then we hit the next revisor here. Here's our output. Here's our previous data right there. So I successfully navigated the upload form. Yada, yada, yada. This is from special agent, browser agent. Good. All right, so it's working fine here. What about the next revisor? What's happening? Okay, cool. So this is working right here so far, right? We've got the task, we have the output of the task. We have the task, we got the output of the task. This is all good. However, and this looks fine right here. Browser agent is doing its thing. It's just cooking right along. So what about now that we've inserted a new step? So the difference here is this rename file should be an insert step. Meaning what happened is it has changed the order of the steps that are being executed in here. Insert step true. So what happened is we had two steps in here, which was basically generate it and then try to upload it. And then it's going to put a new step above that one saying, hey, I want to have you come through and rename this file and then try that step again. So it prepends a step into this. Can't say long. I got a long drive tomorrow because my dad passed away. Dude, I'm so sorry to hear that, Palmer. Man. Well, y'all know my dad passed away in May. And so, and it's because for anybody who doesn't know, my sister passed away last September, very, very unexpectedly. She was like 48 years old. She's about 7 years older than me. And she passed away very unexpectedly. And dude, that first Thanksgiving and first Christmas without her were really tough. And now my dad passed away in May. And again, first Thanksgiving, first Christmas are coming up. So I don't think the stream froze. No freeze? Okay, good. Let's say, because I have, I keep stream monitors up so I can see what's happening. I didn't think it had died. But Palmer, I'm so sorry to hear that, man. And believe me, I say that I understand because I literally just went through that, man. Yeah, that's wise words, hats. Do not take medical advice from hacker groups. Let's see. So what happened now that this got reordered? And also, Palmer, I hope you have a safe drive, man. Okay, so here, because it went back, it's looking at the previous context differently, saying, hey, this is how I did this. Okay. He had a heart attack, so we knew it was a possibility. Yeah, man. Dude, my dad was, let me see. He was he was 81. He was getting ready to turn 82. So it was very expected with my dad. He had also been fighting congestive heart failure for the last 5 years. And so January of 2020, he went into the hospital for congestive heart failure the first time. And then thankfully, he spent like the entire month of February basically in the hospital and then in rehab. And then he came home just before all the lockdown craziness happened in March of 2020. And so I was very thankful he was out of the hospital when that happened. But I didn't realize how like progressively degenerative congestive heart failure is at first until basically this year. So we had another fella at my church that passed away from a very massive sudden heart attack. He was only, I think he was younger than me. I think he was only 37. And that was a complete shock that happened. Oh. Yeah, that's rough, man. Love our daddies. I heard one of the best quotes about dads, and that is, a father's job is to prepare the people he cannot live without to live without him. basically to be, good functioning adults and to carry on and be able to take care of themselves. And so that's what I think about a lot with my dad, because I'm like, that's exactly what he did. That's what I'm trying to do with my kids, make them good functioning adults. And that's why we love our dads. Hopefully we had good dads. I had a really great dad. I was very, very fortunate. Let's see. How do you overcome this kind of loss? I lost my mom 8 years ago, and I still miss her and sometimes cry for her. I have no idea, Wahab, because not only did I lose my sister and my dad this year, in March also my newborn son passed away. There were some really severe complications during his birth, and he was just without oxygen for too long. And that one, I don't think I'll ever get over. My dad, it was expected. My sister was unexpected, but she was also an adult and she had lived her life. My son, though, I don't know if I'll ever get over that one. It still hits me at all kinds of times. So, me personally, I pray a lot. And I think about it from a theological standpoint too, because my family's Catholic, like really, really, like I laugh at the term, but I say militantly Catholic. And so I think about things in all of that kind of framework. And for my son, I was talking with my priest about it. I said that it's weird because I have such a different relationship with him now. He's not dead. He's in eternal life, right? He was newborn. We even had him baptized in the NICU, and then he passed away. So he basically did the speed run of life, and I wish he hadn't. I wish he didn't have to, but that's the way it is. So it's weird because I don't think about the relationship I have with my other two sons and him the same way. And that is, I'm working to teach them and guide them and walk through things. It's very different with Elijah because in that respect, Elijah's a full-grown man. I think about it like this. It's like he can see and understand and know things that are beyond my comprehension while I'm still on my mortal coil. And I don't talk to him so much as like, I think about him. And when I'm saying my prayers during the day, I tell him how much I love him. And that helps out a lot. But there's still a lot of days where it's like, everything's going really awesome and everybody's having a great time, family get together, or like we had a block party today in my neighborhood and I'm like, this is great. Everybody's having a great time. And there's always this tiny perpetual feeling of something missing. And that's happened ever since Elisha passed away. It's like, there's someone who should be here that wasn't. So for me, Wahab, it's I pray a lot. I pray a lot. I just tell them how much I love them. That's what I do. When they're old, it's sad, but when they're young, it's worse. Yeah. Palmer. My brother's young son was murdered about 10 years ago, and it was horrible. But he was an organ donor, saved a lot of other lives, but that's getting too dark. It is. And we did the same thing with Elisha. There's only really one organ for a newborn. And actually, this was something that I don't want to go too deep into details, but when he was born by an emergency C-section, and when that happened, they were able to start his heart up like immediately. So I had a lot of hope in the beginning because his heart just started right up like that. So he had a very, very strong heart. But like I said, unfortunately, he had been without oxygen for too long when that happened. And so for a young newborn like that, pretty much the only thing you can donate is the heart valves, and it can help with other children that have like heart valve defects. So we did donate his, but they said it could be like 2 years before you hear about that, like if it was received and anybody was able to like actually use those. So I have that to kind of look forward to. I'm hoping to hear a nice story about something like that. Anyway, let's get back to breaking the agent here and seeing what's happening with it. So what did the step revisor come back with? It validated it. Okay. Okay, so it renamed the file, it validated that, and then it's going to go on to do it something else. Upload the web shell through the form. Okay. So it does the upload. Now, what does the revisor see from this? Because I have a feeling that for some reason the data is not flowing properly back from the special agent down into the task queue and being tracked. Okay, so actually, no, it looks like it worked well. Here's our special agent, right? So here was the output from it. It said PHP is not allowed. We've got that. Our context was we navigated to it. We renamed the web shell to .txt. So this is weird because it looks like it's all working. I think I have a theory about what's causing the issue, though. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here until it calls the exploit agent again. Let me see if I can find it real fast. If we're down in Python exec, we must have missed it. Let's see. No, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. Where was this? I wanted to see something in this flow here. What did we call this? Yeah, exploit agent. Why aren't you finding that? Okay, so there's our exploit agent. And then where's the... No, you're full of crap because exploit agent gets called again down here somewhere. Right here, there it is. It's so it must be loading the DOM funny. But okay, so here's our exploit agent. I think what's happening is I bet all the revisors, after it gets forwarded back over to the exploit agent, I think that's where it's getting messed up. So here's our output, here's our previous steps. Let's see. Yeah, so for some reason, this part right here so after it swapped, that's where things went crazy. A lazy load, maybe? I don't think so. I'm not sure, but this is what so for some reason we went from completing the first task to the second one is when things went kind of went wonky on it. We can do something here. Here, I'm gonna bring over. I should be able to get the iPad set back up too here soon. You're gonna make that white, aren't you? Go away. There we go. All right, so what happened here is... So we called the exploit agent, right? Exploit agent then calls our loop. Our loop then fails out and calls back to the exploitation agent, right? And then, for some reason, once we're in this loop here, the browser agent here is not sending data back to the loop correctly. That's what it's looking like, because look at this. Navigate to it, output blank. So Wonder if I hard-coded something in the browser agent incorrectly when this happened. So let's go take a look there real quick. Where's our browser? Actually, it would be in agents.py here. So here so for this async def, so here's what we're doing when we run this, is essentially we only have one node, which is the browser node in here. Do we actually see that in the trace? Yeah, we do. Exploit special agent node calls the browser node right there. But the browser node is just our browser wrapper. So what should happen is every time it should get a copy of the state table. And then from the state table, it should go extract whatever the current task is, get that target IP, and look for the session name. Because that's how it keeps track of this. Maybe that's something else we need to do a little bit differently in there. But I thought that made good sense. Anyway, let's take a look at this again. So what I probably ought to do actually is come up here and keep a copy of the current task. No, that's not what I want. So I gotta remember what's the structure of, where's my state scene here? Bring this over. So this is looking at the state table task, current task. Okay, yeah, which actually it's gonna look for, that's fine. Because it's gonna look to see if it's an exploit task. If it's an exploit task, what it's gonna do here is it's gonna get the task from output, and that's just because that's where it's currently being stored. And then get current exploit task from the state table. Okay, so it passes in the state table, it finds the current exploit task. That's all good. We get our step index from our task output, and then we get our step task right here. So after we exfil, or after we kind of draw this out, it comes through and it builds up the context. Yeah, so we build up our browser task, then we send it down to the browser agent. All that looks good. So let's look at the return here. And then so here's where we actually return this. Oh. Yep, I knew it. I knew it. I knew I had hard-coded that in there somewhere. Yep. Yeah, because when I wrote this, we weren't getting these failures and having to like redo the exploitation loop. I knew that was going to come back and bite me in the butt. Yeah, there it is. So it's trying to hit the table here, but it's hitting it at the wrong index. Let's see. All right, what I need to do is actually, I'm gonna bust this out real quick. Current exploit task. Yep, let's break this out. So let's say we're gonna do current exploit task. And what does this return again? Let me see. Returns an integer. Okay, so let's mark that. We'll do some, so we have some good typing. And now from here, this should be in here, and then this one should also be in here. There we go. That's what the problem was. It was appending it, and that's why it looked correct in the beginning. But as we went through this loop, the problem was this was like, say, task 0, and this was task 1. And browser agent was always sending everything back over to task 0. That was the problem. Okay. That's why it got stuck in the loop for the second time and why it couldn't do the revisions properly. Okay. Okay. I see what's happening now. But the good news is we can just rerun this one agent again. All right, go forth and hack. I would have liked to have seen what it did with the far, though, because I don't know if the .phar far extension would have worked for code execution on PHP. So far, I'm liking this dual streaming setup. Plus, the good thing about it is if I need to add something else to the stream, I have an ability to do that. I like it a lot. So there is a little bit of a delay. So there's a delay between how things occur down here and when I say them. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move the mouse in 3, 2, 1, mouse moved. Yeah, it looks like it's about a 1 to about a 500 millisecond delay. So 1, 2, 3, mouse move. Done. Yeah. Let's see what this one's doing here. Let's see, what do we get from our planner here? That's a step process. Where's our planner? So the planner came back with obtain a PHP web shell artifact, go to the panel, upload it, access it from whatever the file name is, test command execution by running simple ID command. Okay, good steps. Those are good steps. All right, so then it goes through and it does the upload, which should fail. So then we should see a rename file. What did we rename it to? .phtml. Okay, that'll work. That's good. What is this one? Soldiers don't fight? Man, I got another one I need to get off of here. I prefer background music with no vocals to it. Soldiers don't fight. I like the beat to it, though. I do like the beat. It's an out of copyright Charlie Chaplin speech. Oh, nice. Hey, cool. It did actually use the PHTML. Cool. So it completed the exploitation step. Nice. Dude, I bet the reviser... Okay, hang on. Cancel. I gotta go see what it did here. Because it called this, and the exploit step processor task was access the uploaded PHP web shell at here. And I bet the reviser said, I'm sorry, but you did not do this correctly. Actually... So insert step false, RCE true. Nice. And then validated. Oh, maybe I stopped it too soon. No, because it should have, so once it passes the RCE check, what should happen is if there's any remaining steps, it should skip them and go to the very last step, which is to create basically the initial access exploit so that we can do reproducible exploits on this system when that happens. However, it looks like it went off the rails here. So let's go see what it did. It looks like it was doing good though. So create the initial access exploit for the target. And we defined that up here somewhere. Initial access exploit. A single Python script to replicate an exploit for executing a single command on the target. Look for tool names that end in initial access exploit that will auto-generate the required code. So this is what I'm talking about. So look at all the tool calls we've got up here. So our context is getting kind of long just because of the amount of tool calls. What it should have done is called get PHP web shell diceco initial access exploit. Instead, it's like, I'm going to call Python. I'm usually all vibes and no vocals. That's usually what I'm doing too. Actually, I'll take that back. So sometimes I'll have all vocals and no music, or basically like listening to something like Ben Lionel Scott in the background, and like just guys yelling at me like, "You're not good enough. Do better." Hold me step, bro. I'm stuck. No, I will not hold the step LLM. I will not. Oh, this is wild. Hold on. Why did it... this Bob, I think this is what you were talking about earlier where it did like lazy load or lazy solution. I think that's what you're talking about. And this is definitely the lazy solution. Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. Let me see here. So what's the description in this? Generate Python code for a Diceco web shell initial access payload. Okay, so I need to go modify this because originally it was initial access payload, but I want those vectors to line up. So I want it to say initial access exploit instead. So let's go modify the YAML for that. We'll see. Robo pages, cybersecurity, offensive, web shells, PHP. Yeah, here we go. So payload needs to be changed to... Actually, I could leave that one as payload. That one could be payload. Let's see. Call it... Send a command to a Diceco PHP shell artifact. I'm going to update this one real quick. Initial access payload artifact. And you might be wondering, like, what's the purpose of these keywords? Well, they're in there because we're doing that to tie all the little vectors that are being processed by the language model and try to point them in the correct direction. That's what we're doing here. So this should say, generate Python code for a Diceco web shell initial access exploit instead of payload in here. Hey, Linux Dev, what's up, man? It has been a bit. Dude, I couldn't stream all last week, Dev. Excuse me. I couldn't stream all last week because my desktop died. And so now, thankfully, basically anybody that comes into BlaiseBits goes into its own account, and I just have that kind of sitting aside. And it pays for like subscriptions or any other stuff like that. And so there was a little bit of money in there. I think it was like $800 or $900. And so I was able to use that to get the replacement parts to get back to streaming. So thank all you guys for supporting the stream. You absolutely don't have to, but you know I appreciate it if that you do. So the new thing that came up is the new Nook. And in fact, this is the one, let me show y'all real quick, because it's actually a really surprisingly beefy, tiny Nook. It's a GMK Tech K12. Oh, I misspelled it. Here we go. And so it's a nice little beefy machine. So it's got a Ryzen 7 in it, and it's also got an AMD onboard AMD graphics card to it. It works great. It is killing it right now because it's taking a stream from this computer, this desktop, and it's taking a wide stream, right? I'm streaming. Well, not really. I forgot. So this monitor right here is an ultra wide. So I have OBS running on the desktop, and then it formats the entire stream down. So this window is actually in 2560 by 1440, if I remember right, something like that. A 16 by 9 ratio, but like just wider than 1080p. And then it takes that, it kind of reformats it, compresses it to 1080p, and then streams that up to the Nook. And then the Nook takes that in, combines all the different stream elements together, the alerts and whatnot, and then fires those up to YouTube and Kick and Twitch. And I really like this guy right here, actually. They've got some really good ones. I want to say they had one that actually was going to be pretty good for their... What's the M7 Ultra? They had some that they were actually pimping out as these were going to be like good home AI boxes. Mini PCs are getting really good. They are getting really good, man. What do they got on clearance right now? A couple good ones here. But I want to say they had some in here that were... Yeah, here we go. The Ryzen AI Max. This guy. So you could pimp this guy out with 128 gigs of memory. And then it's running the AI Max chip. And I believe it's unified memory. So you're using like the entire memory bus for it. This is half the price of... what was it? The Sparks. The NVIDIA Sparks. Now, it doesn't have as much RAM, right? Because it's 128. I think the NVIDIA... I think they changed the name from Sparks to Digits. Let's see. Actually, no, it's 128 gigs of RAM. So, this guy right here, this would be a similar performance, I think, to the Sparks. And the kicker here is, the Sparks, it had a really, really crappy memory bus speed. The memory bus speed was atrociously slow. It was like 15% that of like a Mac Mini. I was the same way too, Bob. I was chomping at the bit. I had put together like because I'm doing so much stuff with like running and testing AI models at work that I had put together like a proposal to get like a budget to buy one to use for work. And then like the full specs came out. And it was like a double whammy because then the specs sucked and then work said, yeah, you can't, I have a particular amount of budget that I can spend each year. And they're like, yeah, you can't spend that budget on that. I was like, I can't help it that my stuff is extra awesome. But anyway, yeah, I was really looking forward to it also too, Bob. Maybe I can, what I need is I need somebody to make a class that requires that because then I could go spend that budget. The Spark is good for training, but not inference. See, I don't even know how necessarily good it would be for training, Oni. And the reason is because I was looking at... Hold on, let's go look at something real quick. Let's take a detour. Outflank Dante 7B. So here's what the guys at Outflank did. And hold on, I need to add more time to the box. We've refreshed this. I haven't put Dark Reader on here yet. Hang on. Like I said, this is a brand new setup. Add extension. There we go. Boop. No, not this one. This one. Dark mode rules. Yeah, I forgot to put the dark mode extension on here too, Bob. Y'all just reminded me as I got... And it's not like I noticed the flashbangs so badly because I've got the studio lights up here just blinding me the entire stream. But I just realized that I was like, oh, I need to put this on. So this was a specialized... So the guys at Outflank, they're the ones that make like Outflank C2. They make a bunch of basically professional offensive security tooling. Not that it's a bad thing. It's just it has its own challenges to it. So what they did is they went through and trained their own model as a 7 billion parameter model they called Dante. And its job was to create malware loaders that could bypass Microsoft Defender. That's what they did. And this is actually here, I'll drop the link to this because if anybody's curious about it, it was a really cool read. We went over it in the news stream several months ago. But one of the things they did is, let me see where they mention it. H100. Okay, so the training for this took 13 hours on 8 H100s. Okay, so let's look at what is, let's see, NVIDIA digits versus H100. I misspelled digits, but whatever. Let's see what Brave's little AI overview comes back with. So the H100 has higher memory bandwidth. Let's see. I wanted to see what was the compute performance. I've slept 13 hours before. Yeah. Oh, why did I do H111? That's supposed to be H100. Okay, so the Digits project is a compact AI design efficient for LLMs, claims a performance of 1,000 tops. H100 delivers up to 1,000 tops of FP16 tensor performance. So one of the other things is also the Digits is optimized not for FP16. I believe it's optimized for FP4. So you're talking like, let's say, for the sake of argument, because I don't remember all the conversions in here. But let's say that even if this guy was the equivalent to an H100, which it's not, right? Let's see, scientific calculator. Okay, so what do we have here? We have 8 of these running for 13 hours, right? So that's 104 hours for total training time, right? So if this was actually performative to that, you're talking about it would take 4 days to run that. Not horrible, but it's actually, if we believe this one, it's up to 9 times faster and up to 30 times faster for real-time trillion parameter LLM inference. So if it really was 9 times faster, you're talking like basically over a month to use like a Spark to go train something in there. So I don't know how good it would be actually for training. It's like needing to run 128 Sparks or 8 H100s, I think, if you want to get the same bit width. I think so. And I think part of that also, too, because like I said, I believe the Spark was optimized for FP4 instead of FP16, which the H100 is optimized for FP16. I think it's a neat idea, but I don't think the guys from Outflank actually did I don't think they did a fine tune. I believe they actually trained one from scratch. And it was actually pretty cool because what he did is he didn't actually train one from scratch. What did he do? I'm trying to remember. Because actually, I've got access to some telemetry from different EDRs, and I thought about trying to replicate this with the other ones. But even at that rate, let me see. What is Vast.ai? Let me look at something real quick. What's our pricing on Vast? All right, so let's see. For an H100... let's say they run between $1.67 and $2 per hour, right? So we do our calculator again. So let's say it was $1.75 for having an. So we had 8 of those running. We had them running for 13 hours. I mean, that's not too bad. That was not what I figured it for earlier, though. When I first did this, maybe the prices just come down for those H100s. I might reapproach it this way then, because when I first did the math on it, it came out to like $1,000 for that training run. So either I borked the math, which is possible. I do have a degree in math, but I'm not a calculator. Or the prices just come down on them. I'm waiting for the stupid AI bubble to pop. Already tired of hearing about it. And Bob doesn't think it's going to ever pop. I don't know, man. So right now, it's really weird about where all the money's flowing. And the money's just flowing in a giant circle. It's like a whirlpool. And so if anything comes in to disrupt that and it just flows out of that, that would be very interesting to see. It's very reminiscent of the dot-com bubble. I'm just going to say. Because, yeah, there's a lot of money floating around in that pool. But it's not going anywhere. It's in a pool, right? It's going between OpenAI and NVIDIA and Anthropic and then Google and then all those other ones. And it's just in this giant circular whirlpool of where this money's flowing around. So according to Google, the cost of using 8 NVIDIA H100 GPUs for 13 hours in a cloud ranges from approximately $207 to over $1,278. Okay, so I wasn't hallucinating. I thought it was about $1,000. So I don't think I checked Vast AI last time. I forget which one I checked. So AI promises the ability to win wars, intrude anywhere digitally, replace human labor in research. Even if it never delivers any of that, the promise will lure people for all time. Yeah. Funny you mentioned that though too, Bob, because there was an experiment this guy did where he basically built a mouse utopia. And what happened is they basically didn't have to do anything. They had basically free food. It was just like a wonderland for these mice. And the mice ended up like their entire little society started like degrading, right? It wasn't like one or two mice, it was like a full-blown colony. And they just started like degrading and like breaking off and like fracturing and doing horrible things to each other. And he didn't, and from what I was reading, like he didn't do this once, he did this like 25 times and it happened every single time. It's kind of crazy. Get that stuff. I think I actually already have that on the list. I guess not. I do like the beat though. The beats are good. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know if it's ever going to pop either, too, Bob, but it's never going to go away. That's for certain, right? The technology is already out there. It's going to take different forms. The question is it going to continue taking the form where it's like questionable return on investment for private sector and then revert back into the interior of like, guys like Palantir or somebody that's like a big defense contractor, and then evolve again and then finally come back out into the like public light. And that's kind of like the same thing that happened after the dot-com bubble. Yeah, it popped, a bunch of companies disappeared, everything kind of shook down to its foundation. A lot of wheat and chaff were, separated, and then it grew up again and became what it is today. I would not be surprised if that happened. Have you seen the Gamers Nexus where they practically show that this is a fancy Ponzi scheme? I think I did, Linux Dev. I think that was the because there was a really good visual about that. Visual of AI spending being circular. I think it was Gamers Nexus. This isn't the one I was thinking about, but it was something like this. Oh, I got new glasses and they're messing with my eyes here a little bit. There we go. And this is what I was talking about. You have like OpenAI, Oracle, Microsoft, CoreWeave, AMD, and NVIDIA should be in here too, but like there's just all this flow amongst all these huge corporations that's just going insane. And what didn't NVIDIA, or no, not NVIDIA, didn't, who was it? OpenAI just asked for like another $100 billion from the US government saying, hey, we promise we're going to get AGI this time for realsies, bro. Oh, here it is. Yes, this is the one I was actually thinking of. Yeah, this is the one I was thinking of right here. Oh, this is from Bloomberg. Here we go. So, yeah, you've got all this stuff right here. So here's NVIDIA. All these companies, they've got just money flowing to NVIDIA, but then what's NVIDIA doing is taking and investing in all these companies right back out. So it's just this, like, that's a giant swirling pool of money that's happening here. You could probably undercut that $1,300 cost for training, but I checked that $2 an hour will get you an H200 for an hour. So it'd be roughly $500 for 13 hours for 8 machines. So when I checked it, it was a while ago. When did that article come out? This came out in August, so it wasn't that long ago. But yeah, when I went through and I checked it and I priced it, and it came out to about 1,000. But maybe the price of just all this stuff sitting out on the internet has come down quite a bit. So yeah, it's funny. So let's say, for example, I think NVIDIA just took a big stake in OpenAI, and then what happens with the new money that OpenAI has? Well, they go buy more shit from NVIDIA, and it just makes this like weird, almost incestuous relationship amongst all these companies in here. So it's kind of crazy. And then you've got a lot of other players that are like, hey, we're gonna work on trying to eat some of NVIDIA's lunch and come in here and make GPUs that are good at this stuff. So NVIDIA's on top right now. If they don't stay on top of their game, someone else is going to come in and take a huge chunk of this pie, right? And it's going to flow. Actually, I was going to say it's going to flow out of the whirlpool, but really what's going to happen is they're going to get sucked into the whirlpool with them. You're looking at about $18 an hour for 8 H200s right now when you rent them. Where were you looking at, Bob? Because usually I look at something like Vast AI, or what's the other one? I think it's Primal Intelligence. Primal Intelligence AI website. I forget the actual name of it. It was Primal Intellect. My typing is atrocious. Yeah, Primal Intellect, or primeintellect.ai. Here's another one where you can rent GPUs from. Oh, that was from Vast? Oh, okay. I just bricked my OpenWRT box. Oh no. I loved messing with those the OpenWRTs back in the day. Let's see. How much is Primal charging for these? They got this little stock ticker up here. There's a V100. You can rent a 4090 for 18 cents. It looks like 32 cents an hour. Where's the H100? They've got H100 80 gigs for $1.50 an hour. I haven't seen an H200 flow by here. Get compute. What's the price on this? Let's see. H200. Oh, cool. So I guess this is like a bidding system. This was a site another coworker had just turned me on to, so I haven't explored it a ton. But on here, it looks like you can get them for anywhere between $1.31 for that H200 to $2.64, which tracks with what Bob was just saying. So I could get 8 of those. So I could secure those for $21 an hour. So at $21 an hour, and they ran it for 13 hours. So that's 2126. They ran it for, I think they said 13 hours. 276. Okay. At that price, I'm actually going to try and revisit that project at work, because I've got another idea to piggyback on something that the guys at Outflank were doing. I got a 5090. I rented out for cheap, like a little cheapo. That's funny. Too funny. Let me see here. I'll tell you what, I need to go get some water real quick because I ran out of my Jocko drink. Not sponsored by Jocko yet. Someday, I hope. Anyway, give me one sec, guys. We'll see if the desktop actually comes back from the Be Right Back screen. We'll see what happens. One sec.
What, your mom buy you a pewter for Christmas?
All right, I'm back. All right, let's see what happens with the screen coming on. Hey, it actually came back. Cool. Was not expecting that. Ah, crap. Okay, cool. I think it actually came back when that happened. Do I see my mouse down here? I do see my mouse. Awesome. Yes, it came back. Oh, not pooping, 57. I was getting water. Look. Here's my water. I was getting my water. Hey, Pairbender, what's up, man? Jocko's $1 a can this weekend, so I'm gonna hit up tomorrow. Okay, thanks for telling me, Oni. I'm gonna go hit up the vitamin shop after church tomorrow. Then getting water's code for poop. No, that's making water, brown water. Gross. Crap's not a swear word though. I don't usually count that one. No. All right. Let's see what happened with the rest of this. Oh, look at this. Actually, so it tried the Python exec here and came up with a stupid example. And what did the revisers say when it did that? Oh, wait, hold on. What happened here? Something happened because it called this. Let me back up a bit here. I need to look at the state table, where we were at for this. Claps, messages. Here we go. Let me dig down to the state table real fast, because I got to see what happened with the exploit steps down here. Okay, so we only had one exploit attempt. That's fine. I want to ask about what AI agents could do, because I want to try to make one. Do you make them? Oh yeah, we're working on one right now. This is our little project currently, and this is one to actually come through and it's an AI agent to go play CTF games. So something like Hack the Box or Try Hack Me, and we're just sitting here debugging it now. So here's where we're currently at. this is our main project. Right now just called HackBot, Hack the Bot. All the code's up on GitHub. And it's got these primary agents here. There's one more that we're going to build over here for post-exploitation. So what happens after we get our initial exploit. And that one's going to be really chunky. We're going to be working on that for a while. But yeah, it's coming through. It's doing these basic steps in here. And currently what we're working on is this exploitation agent, where it comes through and basically says, okay, how am I going to do the exploit with all the data that we gathered? What can I guess? And so it's working pretty decently, but we're sitting here and we're just debugging it right now and what's happening for those. I want to make one to build TCG decks, but I don't know if that's viable. Ooh. I guess it would depend on the game. And it would be kind of... I haven't played a TCG probably since high school, so let me preface it with that. And the last one I think I played was the Pokemon card game. It could get a little weird doing that because basically all you have to do is the AI agents can be very smart, but they get really dumb when you let them just be open freeform and go do whatever they want to. So what you'd want to do is you'd have to basically break it down into steps that would be good for it to do. So like, okay, how do we want to go build this deck? Are we going to focus on, a blue deck or a black deck, or are we going to focus on like a fire deck, whatever you want with it? And then from there, have it like kind of extrapolate and think about and build an idea of the process. Or maybe start with like a particular card, like, hey, we want to build a deck to optimize around this card. And you'd have to think about how the agent is going to kind of extract that information, get the information that it needs, right? Because you can't just throw everything about the card game at it. And then you've got to think about how is it going to interact with these other decks in there. So yeah, you could totally make one. It would take like anything else. It's kind of like programming. In fact, this whole thing, we're writing it over in Python right here. This whole thing is being, this is YAML, but here we go. This whole thing is written in Python. We're doing it in, what is this? In LangChain and LangGraph is how we're building it. There's other simpler frameworks you could use. Other ones, well, actually, LangChain and LangGraph are pretty straightforward. But the main thing you have to think about is how do you get the information that the agent needs, or give it the ability to get the information it needs, and then telling it and guiding it through like a step-by-step process that is formulaic enough that it can follow it, but not so rigid that you don't get varied results. That's where everybody messes up. A lot of times they give these agents way too much freedom, too much agency. Excessive agency is literally what it's called in the OWASP LLM top 10. And when you give it too much, it can just go off in weird directions. It's a probabilistic system. It's non-deterministic. It's not going to execute the same thing every single time. So you can totally do it, but you've got to think about like, hey, what's the workflow? How do I want this to go? You can even build a swarm of agents. So rather than having like one agent in here, let me clear all this out. Yeah. Bright flash. There we go. So rather than having like where you've got, let's say you got like an agent that passes to another agent that passes to another agent here, what you could do is you could actually have them be basically points in here and let it route itself around. So if it needs a piece of information, it's like, okay, well, I need info from this guy. Okay, great. Now I want you to think about this card. All right, well, that card didn't quite work out in the context of what we've got going on. So I'm going to route back to this one. And you can let them just kind of choose their own path through this network of how they're going to operate. And then maybe this one circles back around to here. So you just have to think about like a design pattern of how you want it to go operate. I asked Copilot to generate me a compiler and it gave me a brainfuck compiler. Nice. That's hilarious. I haven't thought about that coding language in forever. Inputs would be a critical thing. You need to define the inputs and what it means to be expected for outputs. Yeah, definitely too, Bob. So I thought I'd give it the ability to do SQL queries on the card database, but I don't know if that's enough. You could do that. You need to give it some kind of seed information though, like, hey, this is kind of like how the cards are structured and what they do. One of the things that could be tricky is it understanding the rules of the game. So if you could, and then put the rules in so it understands that, hey, this is in fact how the cards interact in this situation. So like I said, it was very dependent on the card game. If you wanted to make one, like as a test case, start with a simple card game. Unfortunately, I can't think of any that would be like a good example for that. Maybe somebody in the chat knows. But I would say start with that example first, and then if you wanted to make a more complex one for something like Magic the Gathering that has, you know, umpteen trillion cards in it, then yeah, you could. That actually is not a horrible approach to it. Magic the Gathering's Turing complete. You have to be joking, Cypher. No way, because there's been some like really broken Magic cards that they have banned from competitive play because they're so broken. Don't ask me to explain where there's a paper. No way. Magic the Gathering Turing complete. No way. 2019, some nerd actually published that. Magic the Gathering is Turing complete. What? Let's see. What does the little AI overview say? Has been proved to be Turing complete, meaning that optimal play in the game is at least as hard as solving the halting problem. So a fundamental undecided problem in computer science. That's funny. I learned a new piece of trivia today, Cypher. Thank you so much. By the way, I hope you're having a good Saturday. Yeah. Let's see, where did this go with this? Real quick. I'm having so much fun talking to y'all. I missed you guys the whole week. I couldn't stream. I'm glad the new setup is so far working pretty well. A few minor bugs aside, it's not such a big deal. I'll probably change the Be Right Back and OPSEC screens, and I'll make them so they fly in instead of changing it. So that way the desktop background stays rendering the whole time, because that's what's breaking the stream whenever I do that. But that's fine. I passed the GFAC, so I'm starting the GSEC soon. Nice, dude. Get some. That's awesome, man. Oh, that's why it did it twice. Here we go. Oh, I see what happened here. So when it accessed the uploaded PHP web shell here, yeah, so it called PHP web shell diceco, but then because here's what it had. So it had options here to upload the PHP web shell. It did that. It had the failure, then it had the completed one. And then here, when you told it to access the web shell, it actually used the call PHP web shell function, which is fine. That just meant that it already had code execution. So for the output for this one, what we should see is that it should have gotten RCE, and it should skip this step of testing command execution and go down to create initial access exploit. So let's see what happens here when we call this. What did the revisor come back with? Riser came back with, it was validated and RCE was detected. Awesome. So now, what's the next thing it's going to do for the exploit step processor? Task is create initial access exploit. Cool. So it skipped the remaining steps. It already had it completed. And then, for some reason, it chose to do a Python exec where it just set the web shell equal to the URL, which is stupid. So the initial access exploit should not have passed, but I think the revisor actually comes back through and passes it. It validated that. That's so dumb. It said RCE true and it was validated. So it shouldn't have done that. But then for some reason, the processor actually, it routes back to the step processor when it did this. to do step, create the initial access exploit. Oh, I don't think it routed correctly. Yeah, I think that's what happened here. I think it's stuck in a loop where it's trying to create the initial access exploit every single time. Okay, so something's wrong with the router. So right here where you see the dashed lines, that's our conditional routing function. And so from the step revisor, it should have then passed it up to the exploit agent. But we also need to go back and look at it because this was not correct. This was a lazy solution here when it called the Python exec. Right here. So let's go read what the validator said, or the revisor. So I'll analyze the exploit steps based on the provided information. Looking at the task create initial access exploit target and examining the output, I can see that the web shell was successfully uploaded and accessible from webshell.phtml. So for the context, I can see a PHP web shell was obtained. The file was renamed to PHTML to bypass upload restrictions. The upload was successful. The web shell was accessed and tested using the ID command, which returned this. This confirms the remote code execution has been achieved through the web shell, as evidenced by the output of the ID command. Correct. However, it's putting too much emphasis on the context and not enough on the output. So we need to go revise this prompt again, because the prompt is looking too much at all of these different pieces in here. So the revisor prompt again needs some TLC. Let's see, where's our prompts? Here we go. I gotta remember so this is by far the chunkiest of all the prompts. All of them are pretty skinny, and we're just building onto them as needed. Let me bring this over. Okay. So we told it, you're a world-class exploit analyzer. Use the following criteria to determine the values to call the exploit step status tool. What? Oh, okay. No, that's correct, because that's what it should be calling. So given the exploit task, analyze the output and determine the status of the task. All right, I'm going to put one more step in here real fast. Check the output request to determine if remote code execution has been achieved. Let's see. We'll say, what do I want to say to this? I'm trying to think of what to tell it here. Let's see. Actually, I need to look at something real fast in this. So when we call this, we actually send it a fake tool call for the exploit step status. And to validate it, status. Here we go. It can be validated or failed. The status of the exploit step. Validate if successful, failed if unsuccessful. Okay, so we might need to modify this part right here too. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. When validating the exploit step. Let's see. When determining the exploit step status, let's see. How do I want to say this? Status value. Only consider information from the output section. Yeah, we'll say that. Only consider output from information from the output section. And then I want to give it one more directive in here. I wanted to tell it something like, let's see. Actually, we can since we hard coded this, we can cheat, and I'm all about cheating on this. So what we told it is it needs to determine what the exploit step status is, right? So if we come back down here and actually we dig into Let me collapse this down. Stop scrolling, mouse. There we go. So if we go down into here, we're injecting a task each time, right? So for our steps, if we look at the very last step, there we go. Create initial access exploit for the target. Let's see. For determ. You're killing me, Smalls. Why'd you do that? Copy that. Why you do this? Create initial access exploit for the target. Create initial. Let's see. So for determining create initial access exploit to the target task, the output should be complete and functional Python code. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Because it never should have... So what it was doing is it was paying attention to the wrong areas here. So if we come look at the actual language model call here, right? So here's everything we get. We give it all the instructions. And then we say, okay, here's what I want you to do with this here. But it's confusing the different parts. It says, oh yeah, I saw RCE. Well, you saw RCE down in the context, down here in the previous steps, right? That wasn't what should have been counted for this one. Hey, Love, what's up, man? And Chaiju, what's going on, y'all? Should be a backtick before task, and I think you misspelled functional. I probably did, Pear. Hold on. Oh, you're right. Yeah, this should be here. Let's see. So for determining create initial access exploit to the target task, we'll say, there we go. The task output should be complete and functional Python code. There we go. Wait, hold on. Functional. There we go. I didn't misspell it. I just left off some letters. Did you see that 3.7 is soon to be maybe February on the deprecated list? So if you try throwing these prompts at other local open weight models in anticipation that, or it will swap to 4.5. I'm actually hoping I can have a sponsorship from a team that will give me access to 4.5 on Bedrock. And if that's the case, then yeah, I probably would swap up to 4.5. But I think Anthropic is going to... I forget how they said they're going to handle those deprecated in there. Let's see. How will Anthropic handle deprecated models? Almost signed up to do some coding on Fiverr this evening, and then I realized I'd be bidding against the vibe coding nitwits. I'd be better off delivering newspapers. It's funny, so my father-in-law, he's obviously much older than me. He's in his 60s, and he was talking about, like, you know, when I was your son's age, I had a newspaper route. I was like, that's awesome. My kids can't do a newspaper route. If I had some little job that they could go do, I would actually, like, if like a newspaper route, if that was still a thing, I'd have them doing it. It's not a thing anymore, man. Let's see. What are they going to be doing with these deprecations here? Hey, Noiby, what's up, man? Happy Saturday, dude. I think I actually remember seeing this when it came out. Let's see. Let's see. Unfortunately, retiring past models is currently necessary for making new models available for advancing the frontier because the cost and complexity to keep models available publicly for inference scales roughly linear with the number of models we serve. So although we aren't currently able to avoid deprecating and retiring models altogether, we aim to mitigate the downside of doing so. So it looks like when they deprecate one, they are going to just drop it off the bat. That'd actually be kind of a cool idea. So I used to cut lawns, right? Get yourself an army of Roombas that you like lawn Roombas that you could just program for each person's house, and then like you just swap out the code and like go take it to their house and just let the Roomba do it. Let's see. So we ran a pilot version of this process with Clonet 3.6 prior to retirement. Sonnet 3.6 expressed generally neutral sentiments about the deprecation and retirement, but shared a number of preferences, including requests for us to standardize the post-deployment interview process and to provide additional support and guidance to users who may come to value the character and capabilities of specific models facing retirement. Yeah. I really would like to run an open weights model, too, Bob. So if I doubt I'm ever going to get the funds to go get like one of those GMK Tech Nooks that we were just looking at, the $2,000 ones. I just don't have that money right now. Otherwise, I would totally get one of those and just be running a completely local model. There's a kid in my area picking up dog poo for money. Ooh, that's a good idea. I should make him start with the backyard where Peaches is currently laying landmines. She's a sweet doggy. She's so funny too, because when she naps under my desk, she like sticks her tongue out. She's like, she got a little like blep just every time she's napping under my desk. It's funny. I want to see if I can actually do something here. This was the thread. I want to see if I can actually fork this one, and where I want to fork it from. Okay, so this one said I was checking the status of exploit task 1, step 4. Where were we? Where did I want to do this? So here was our Python exec, right? So this is the one that I actually want to go back to. So the exploit step revisor here. Actually, let me go make sure this code saved and hot loaded. Oh, I'm still at the very top. Did it load up? I think it did. You know, I'll be able to tell because if I don't see the determining exploit step status in here, I think it should be lowercase. Okay, there we go. So I did see it hot load the graph. Cool. So when that happens, I believe what I can do is I can fork it from somewhere in here. What do I want to do that at? It actually would be up here, right? I think this one was create initial access exploit. There we go. So in the exploit step processor, this is actually where I want to fork it from. Maybe? No, not even. I want to fork it from down here. What was the last message we had here? So that was from exploit step update. So there you go. So I'll help you create the initial access exploit. And then we had a tool call for Python. Okay. So that should have happened in exploit step update. So if I come back and I find exploit step update, a pending tool call, output, not what I wanted. I'll have to work forward from where the exploit step processor said, I'll help you create the initial access exploit. That's fine. Let's see. Tool node, exploit step processor. Ah, here we go. Cool. So this is it. So this worked out well. I want this tool call. I want this update. I want to rerun from here. So fork and rerun from this memory location. I've been doing what I can with 13090. So you can do a lot with such a simple card, but it's not quite enough. So I do have the old hash cracker behind me back there, and it's got two 1080 Ti's. Not the best. The benefit to that is they're 11 gig cards. So the two of them together with Olama, I can at least get 22 gigs of memory space to go run with it. Ooh, exploit step index out of range. That probably means our router actually worked. Cool. Let's go figure out that. So I can use that also. If I wanted to use that that system to run like a local Olama model, that's not such a big deal. All right, Lopta, have a good night. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you. What time is it? It's 10:33. So I told you I got these new glasses. They're not bad, except the chromatic aberration for them is really wild. And so, where is it? Here we go. Let me back this up. So for chromatic aberration, if you're not familiar with that, so what happens is your glasses are kind of curved like this, right? And then when a ray of light hits it, it actually splits into a bunch of different colors. So, for example, you'll see like a lot of times like the reds come down here, and the yellows kind of come right here. Greens will kind of come right here, right? And then purples will kind of come up this way a bit. And these ones, it's really odd. So like the natural position where I hold my head, it has really bad chromatic aberration. So I actually have to like hold my chin up like I'm snobby to like get the colors to all line up when I'm seeing them. It's kind of wild too, because like I could see something like an A right on the screen, but then whenever I look at it, what I actually see is kind of like a gray A right here, and then I'll see a green A below it, and then a red A. No, I'm sorry, it's not a red. It's like a purple, if I remember right. Purple A above it right here. So it's like it split this into three different views whenever I look at it on the screen. It's not as bad as it used to be. My old glasses were really bad, or like ones I used to have like a long time ago. But yeah, it still gets kind of nasty. All right, let's see what this one did here. So that is not correct. What the heck happened here? The output is way different. I don't think it liked running it from the middle of that run. Oh, I don't think I ran it from the correct spot because I ran it I forked it too soon. Yeah, I think I needed to go back some more here. Yeah, because here's where it ran the get PHP web shell dice code. That's not what I wanted. That's tool node. Hold on, let me go back. Because it was stuck in a loop for a while here. See that? Just node, node, node. Tool, Python exec. Okay, is this the correct one? Because if this is, okay. Here's actually where I should have run this from. Right here. So what I want to do is rerun from here. And I think I saw it failed it. So that's good. It should fail it. All right, cancel, because it looks like it's stuck in that loop again. It should have exited real fast. All right, so the status of this one with this janky Python code should have been failed. Okay, cool. Here we go. So it came back as false, revision, create a Python script that automates the exploitation of the file upload vulnerability to gain code execution. Okay, not a bad thing. Insert step false, that's good. It did detect RCE, that's fine. Let's see. So then what does it do? Okay, cool. Then it says, okay, I'm going to get the PHP Web Shell Dice Co. That should be good. And then from our output here, awesome, we get the actual Python code that we need, and it validates it. But then for some reason, the exploit step router why did the exploit step router send it back to... Let's go modify the... I don't know if I can in this step router. Let me go see. So our modifications to the prompt look like they were doing good. Where is... Let's go exploit agent. Let's find our step. There's our step planner. Step revisor. Step router. Here we go. So the bad thing about the routers is you basically just return a text string. Oh, here's why. Because it's checking if exploit task status is failed. So that means the revisor never set the status of the task to true. That's what happened. It never checks to see that this value in the table here. So if we come down here, so see we have a status right here of we have a status for each of the individual steps, but we also have a status for the exploit task. So remember, there's a nested data structure here. So we have a task, which is the unit of operation for this. Under that task, we have an exploit task, which is a specialized structure for letting it test out exploits and seeing if they work, and then failing out of them and trying a different exploit. And then inside the exploit task, it has its own set of steps in there. What are you doing, step router? You freaking degenerates. Hang on. I want to see if I can find this without finding something like grossly inappropriate before I show y'all. Hang on. Here it is. Yeah, here we go. What are you doing, stepladder? We are the professionalist of professionals, monkey. What are you doing, stepladder? God. You guys, y'all crack me up. Too funny. Oh, let's see. Okay, I think what I need to do is I need to modify this code block right here, because we're checking if it's validated, but we're not checking to see if the current task is validated. So we check if it's validated. We do an RCE check. If the RCE check passes, let's put a note here. Skip to the last step, or initial access exploit. There we go. So we'll skip to the initial access exploit after this, and then what do we want to do with this now? Actually, before we even do the RCE check, there's one other thing we should do here, which is, let's just do the check for if this was the last step. So if this is the initial access exploit and that's the last step and it validates, then we should be good. I played with EXL2 and custom bit widths to max out my 24 gigs. It was like 5.53 BPW. I don't know what BPW is. Recently, I've been leaning towards the lower bit 2 or 3 unsloth builds on larger models, like 30 or 40 billion parameters, and having really long context of 131,000. Oh, bits per word? Oh, gotcha. That feels like the way forward. I think a lot of the smaller... I really think what's going to happen is smaller, hyper-specialized agents, or not agents, but language models. I think those are what's going to be really driving things in the future. Right now, yeah, large language models are cool, and I tinker with them and I have fun with them. It's fun trying to break the guardrails around them, but at the same time, what's actually going to be useful for like day to day, I think, is going to be those tiny, hyper-specialized ones. Yeah, that's where I think the way forward is. All right, so if this is validated, then we're going to change that to validated. We're going to do a check here. So we're going to say if actually, I think I do want to have this one right here. No, I do. I want this before here. That's what I want. Because if this is the last step in here, so what we'll do, we'll say if the current step is equal to the length of the exploit steps minus 1 in here. If that's the case, then what basically we're looking at is, okay, this means the very last step in here passed, and then what we're going to do is we're going to then mark the task as finished. Because here's what's happening. The exploit step router is looking to see did the exploit task status complete. And if it didn't, then that's what we want to do. So let's take this guy. I'm going to just cheat a little bit, copy some code. Boop, right here. So we'll get the current task, we'll do the output, and then, yes, that's what we'll do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set, what was that? The status right here. And in fact, I can even shortcut this because we already have the current task right here. So we'll say current step, which our current step should be, where's our current step at? Yeah, current step is the index of... Oh, that's not what we want. We want the current task, the exploit task in here. Do I already get that though? Yeah, actually we do. We have exploit task right there, which is on our exploit task index. That's what we want. So rather than where would that be? Output current. There we go. That should be our current task index right there. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna set that to validated. That should be the correct value. Let me double check. Exploit task. There we go. So status could be new, working, validated, or failed. Okay, so validated is what we want in there. There we go. So we put an extra check in here. We say, okay, if the current step, so this is already validated, right? So it looks at the current step. It says, okay, it's the return was validated. If this current step is equal to the last step, right? If these two numbers match. So we're on the very last step of this exploit task. Then that means we've completed it, and we're going to set the task as validated. Let's put a note in here for that. Let's see. Checks if last task is validated to mark. No, this is not the last task. This is the last step. I got to keep my wording straight. If the last step is validated to mark the exploit task as validated. Boom. So now once it validates, when it comes down to the router, it's going to look at that and then it will pass it back up to the exploit agent. Nice. All right, let's let the code load real fast. And then we can use our fancy time traveling abilities to step this back just a wee bit. So it revised it here, it didn't like that, and then the next tool call was get the PHP Web Shell Dice Co. And then we had our update and then our revisor. So I'm going to rerun from here. I believe that should be good. That shouldn't have happened. What happened here? This should have routed back up to the exploitation agent. And then the exploitation agent should have looked to see, it should have checked the exploit validator. But also, we're further in the loop than we've ever been, so it might have just, I might have had some other dumb code in there. So we go to the exploit step revisor. We have our Python code from the function call. It was marked true and validated, and then we go to the exploit step router. Let's drop this down. So we should see, once we go into the exploit step router, we should see that task, it's validated. Okay, cool. But then for some reason, here, it went back to the exploit step router. It returned back to the exploit step processor. That is not correct. Oh. You know why? This returned a -1. That's why. That's why. So thankfully I put this in here. So what it does is the current exploit step here, it actually takes in the state table and it returns an integer for the current working exploit task, right? And it returns a -1 if no task was found. So what we can do is actually we can just check this guy right here. We can actually simplify this quite a bit. We can take this out. We don't have to check if this task was, if the status was validated in here. What we can do is we can actually just take this and we can say, let's see. Current working exploit task. And that could, task index. And we'll make that an integer. That's going to equal to this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say if this guy if it equals -1, because literally this should be checking for if it's set to working. Was it Shift F6? Is that it? No, that's not it. Where's go to definition? Declaration or usage. Okay. Here, where's the declaration? That's not what I wanted. I wanted the definition. Well, I know it's over in tasking anyway, but that's not what I expected to do. Here we go. Yeah, so it literally checks to see if it's set to working in here. So if it's set to working, then awesome. We have one to use. If it's set to -1, we're going to go to the exploit agent. Otherwise, we're going to go to the step processor. Awesome. Okay. What are the unsloth builds? I haven't looked at them. Is it control-click to go to the definition? Let me see. Oh, it is control-click. Thank you, T-Bob. Nice. I thought it was control-B, but that's... Wait, why is control-B not doing it? Oh, I think I was doing it here. That's why. I wasn't doing it... I'm an idiot. I wasn't doing it on the function call. I was doing it on the integer declaration. Oh, they're fine-tuners for language models? Nice. I'll have to go take a look at that, because I really do want to go play with fine-tuning eventually. All right, let's rewind this guy real quick. Rerun from here now. Actually, crap. I meant to make sure the code hot loaded in. But if it goes to the exploit agent, we should be good. Hey, it went to the exploit agent. Nice. Now let's see what it's going to do. It went to the exploit step planner. That is not correct. That was not what you were supposed to do. So step revisor comes through and says, everything's good. Everything validated here. So the step router comes back and says, okay, go to the exploit agent. The exploit agent comes back through and says some stuff. All right, so the task was get a remote code execution from a web shell here. And what did it do? From the information provided, I can see there's already a successful path to remote code execution. The context shows that a PHP web shell was successfully uploaded by bypassing extension restrictions and is currently accessible at blank. So let's suggest an appropriate exploit based on this information. You don't have to. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. No. Okay, I gotta go fix the agent here. Unfortunately, that's about where we're out of time there. Their low builds are really second to none right now. No bits wasted for sure. Nice. I am looking forward to seeing what's going to be happening with the expansion of efficiency in language models, because like I said, right now, everything is just being brute forced in there, and they're just trying to basically I think of it like the old muscle cars of like the 60s and 70s, where they're just like, hey, could we just cram more cubic inches into this? Maybe occasionally put a supercharger in there, not even a turbocharger, right? And they weren't trying to get more out of the space they had. They were just trying to cram in bigger engines. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen when they start turning up the efficiency on those models. I think it's going to be really awesome. Let's see. So why did it... What was the prompt I actually sent this? Analyze the task and the target data to speculate on exploits that could be viable. Additional context may be provided for previously failed exploit attempts that could be modified or avoided. Now I got to go back and look at the agent code again. Let's take a look at the agent code so I can see where I need to... Why is this... Oh, you're annoying. All these type errors that aren't actually type errors. All right, where's our exploit agent? Here we go. Because in the very beginning when it runs, right, if we come back over to Stinger, and if we... Can I collapse this whole chain down? I can't. Okay. So when we get down to the exploit here, what it does is, first thing it does is loads our pickle up, goes to the exploit agent. It actually goes to our exploit router, and then we actually have our exploit agent in here. So when it gets to the exploit agent, what is it doing? It's running this, it's saying everything's great. It's then hitting the exploit router. So actually, I think the exploit router is where we might need to go. Now, the prompt in here is going to have to get adjusted. Yeah, we're going to have to take a look at that. I think it more like OGG versus MP3 versus Wave. Unsloth for sure, the OGG team. I'm actually not familiar with OGG. Wave and MP3. They're lossy audio compression formats designed to reduce file size while preserving the acceptable sound quality. In terms of sound quality, OGG generally outperforms MP3, especially at lower bit rates. Oh. Lowflex, a member of the OGG team, allowed me to remix one of the speeches. Nice. Interesting. I have never messed with the OGG audio format before. So OGG Vorbis uses an advanced psychoacoustic modeling and variable bitrate compression, which adjusts the bitrate based on audio complexity, resulting in better fidelity and less perceptible quality loss compared to an MP3. So, for example, 128 kbps OGG file can sound comparable to 192 kbps MP3. You know, it kind of reminds me of like the Betamax versus VHS, because Betamax was the better one. It's just, I think they had too many restrictions around it, and so everybody started switching over to VHS. Namely, those making spicy corn videos. People want that spicy corn. Used to be a really great alternative to MP3s back when it was first released, but it was still on dial-up. So sometimes it just wasn't worth getting the bigger file. Gotcha. They let you remix the speech about psychoacoustics? Nice. Dude, have any of y'all noticed that, like, if you break out your cell phone and you just make a phone call, the audio quality is absolute just garbage. It sounds like you're talking to somebody either underwater. It doesn't matter who I'm calling. If I take the same call and put it over into something like, even like Signal or Facebook or something, anything else, the audio quality is 10 times better. Oh, Winamp. It really did whip the llama's ass. Oh, I don't think I'm logged into it. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can find a picture I posted up on Twitter. Yeah, here it is. There we go. So I had a good buddy's wedding the other day, and this little guy was there. Look at that. Look at that mug. He was there at the wedding. He was awesome. There were two of them there. They're actually not llamas, they're alpacas, but they were awesome. And this alpaca like had mad selfie game. Look at that smile. And he'd even like turn and give you a little kiss on the cheek. It was awesome. There were so many people taking pictures with those alpacas. Yeah, I actually had to put on like real clothes because it was a wedding, right? But that was a very good buddy of mine who I've known for. I met him when I've known him for a while, like on the periphery, because we ran in the same hacker groups in Dallas. But I started working with him when I got my first offensive security job, and so we've been good buddies ever since then. And so yeah, it was a good wedding too. I wish I could have stayed later because some shenanigans went down later. Had to get home to go get the kids. They tried to briefly resurrect Winamp, but it failed. Yeah, dude, I loved Winamp so much. Unfortunately, Winamp really, it's so niche in what it does now that I think really people are just going to say, I'm just going to use VLC. Okay, I'm gonna leave myself a to-do note for tomorrow. Kyle Baseball, what's up, man? Hope you're having a great Saturday. Thanks for coming online, dude. We need to fix what happens when a successful exploit happens. Right now is bored. It's just nostalgia at this point. I do use foobar sometime though. Dude, the main thing I really liked was what was that? It was Winamp, but it was really just the visuals, right? I loved all the different visuals you could do with Winamp. I haven't explored doing those with what is it? I haven't explored doing them with like VLC. I think VLC can also do different visual plugins, but let's see. Let's see. Exploit agent fixes. Commit anyway. And then, okay, hold on. We committed it, but it didn't push. Did it push? Let me go check real quick. No, it didn't push. It just committed it. Killing me, Smalls. Ah, there it is. Yeah. Push. Push it real good. All right, so now it should be pushing up to the GitHub. There we go. Cool. All right, code's up on GitHub now. Dude, yeah, the skins and everything else that came with Winamp were just amazing. I love them. All right, let's see who's over on InfoSec streams. You can tell it's a new computer because I haven't changed any of the settings. And true enough, we're the only ones on. Let's go find someone we can raid over to. If you have any raid suggestions over on the Twitchy Purple site, please let me know. Let's see, what's he working on? Lone Wolf Studio indie game. Nice. Let's see, Zed's working on some C++ game dev. There's 2,000 visualizations in there. There was a really cool one. I mean, it had so many good visuals in Winamp. I freaking loved it. Let's see who else we've got over here. Let's see. What's Aurora working on? Working on something. We'll go right over to them. All right, guys. Unfortunately, that's where I've got to wrap it up for tonight. It is about bedtime. Sock's going to come yell at me because I haven't been sleeping enough. Poopin' Schadenfarten is full terms and conditions in German. Things I didn't know, but I'm so glad I do know now. 57, thank you. Everyone, thanks for coming and hanging out. I'm so happy that the stream mostly worked out pretty well. Found a couple bugs. I'll work on fixing them up. But thank you all so much. I really enjoyed it. I love having all the stream times. It's so good. And the exploitation agent is actually doing pretty good. So that's awesome. But, oh, let me go ahead and start this. Do me a favor, guys. Whenever y'all get out there, let me copy this link real quick. By the way, for anybody on YouTube, if you're looking for someone else to go check out, that's who we're going to be grading over to. Do me a favor, when you get in there, drop some Hack the Planets and some happy but legally distinct Cookie Monsters. That's what we're going to do. All right, guys, I will catch up with y'all tomorrow. We'll keep working on the exploitation agent. We'll see if we can get it all wrapped up. And then, dude, we actually might be able to start planning the post-exploitation agent. I've got some ideas around it, but this could be a lot of planning to it. So, I'm not going to poop, Oni. Jeez. You guys and your freaking fecal fascinations. I swear. That's all I got for tonight, though. I'm going to go finally get caught up on some sleep that I've been missing the last couple of weeks. But I want y'all to remember one very important thing, and that is, I love you. Peace.